Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, there has been a lot of changes in people's perceptions about 3I Atlas. It's a lot of changes because I think they're coming to the realization that they really truly don't know what this thing is going to do. They have never had anything happen like this before. They've never seen anything like this before. The science community really don't know any more than the rest of us. They may see it, but at the end of the day, they don't have no more information than the rest of us do. And I think it is scaring them. They have a lot of fear because they don't know if they can even handle this thing, which I know they can't. A white man can't manage no extra something that is way more intelligent than they are. It's just not going to happen. Number two, this is something they can't control at all. They can't tell them what to do. They can't tell them, hey, don't come here. They can't do nothing. Really, they are at the mercy of whatever this thing does. And number two, in the beginning, they kept telling us, oh, it's going to go by Mars, it's going to go by Venus, and then behind the sun. And then after that, it's going to go past Jupiter and then leave our solar system. Well, I thought about that and I said, how the hell do you know? Did you have a conversation with them or something? And I think what they're going on are the other um, ones that came from the interstellar direction and came into our solar system. And that's what they did. But this thing is behaving completely different from the first two. So they really don't have no information. Now they're coming to realize this thing may not leave our solar system at all. And I notice many of them are jumping on that bandwagon now. Before, they were all certain this thing was going to go behind the sun and then leave. Now they're all, I saw multiple videos of them saying this thing may not leave our solar system. It may just stay. So, okay, now that explains why all these different countries are putting, up their planetary defense systems out of the blue. Now all of a sudden, y'all all need to do this. Yeah, no, what you're really afraid of is this thing is going to come to this planet and all the people that are in power now, you're afraid it's really over. That's what it is. That's what the fear is. You fear that this thing showing up means this is the end of your rulership. That is what you are in big fear of. But you know you can't come out and say that. So you're going to use all of these other deflections to describe what is happening. You don't have to defend yourself unless you see a threat. So now, before they were all fascinated by 3I Atlas. Now, 3I Atlas is slowly becoming the enemy. And we know what kind of rationale and history these folks have. These folks have a history of stealing, murdering, and I guess they think that's what they're gonna do if they feel this thing is a threat. "Oh, we'll just throw some bombs at it." That stuff ain't gonna work. Y'all, after I seen the US Navy drop a Hellfire down on a UFO and it just bounced off, I am convinced. And plus, they were talking about just a few days ago, and y'all can look this up, that they saw a magnetic field around 3I Atlas. They said you could literally see the shield around it. So if this thing got the ability to put a shield around the entire spaceship, what makes you think anything you shoot at it is going to really cause any harm? Okay? What makes you think anything you shoot at it is gonna be harmful to it? You're not gonna take that thing out. And they are talking about this thing has been out there for probably millions of years. Now, think about it. It's been in solar storms. It's probably had all kinds of asteroids and comets whizzing past it, or you know what I mean? Something that's been out there for that long have to be so resilient, it's practically indestructible. There's no way something's going to be out there for millions of years and it's still floating around to this very day and it's easy to take down. Mm-mm. I don't believe that. And they don't believe it either. That's why they're getting their defense systems in place. They're scared because this is a very unknown thing. They don't know what's inside of it. They fear what's inside of that thing. They fear it. Y'all, we know what the biblical texts say. We know what it says. It says when these things occur, it's the Gentiles that's going to be the target. We're not going to be the target. The Gentiles are going to be targets, not us. And they know what it says too. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Okay, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Yeah, but you notice something? We're not scared. You notice that? One thing I do notice when I go online and I watch the videos our people put out and watch the videos that other people put out, it's fear all over their videos. I noticed the videos that we put out, we're not fearing. We're talking about it, but I don't see that same level of fear in our people at all. And the Most High is just putting us at ease. That's what he's doing. He's keeping us calm for what's going to come on this earth. And they're talking about another thing I've heard from several of them is, oh, as soon as this thing come near earth, the financial markets are all going to crash worldwide because of all the uncertainty. I don't give a shit about their financial markets. Y'all were never good with money anyway. That's why you're trillions of dollars in debt. You were never good with money. The hell with your financial markets. So, y'all, let's get started.
slash ATLAS isn't leaving? What if it's staying right here in our solar system? Imagine that. An object born in another star system, drifting for millions of years across the cosmic dark, suddenly deciding to stop right beside our sun. It's not supposed to be possible. Nothing traveling at interstellar velocity ever slows down enough to stay. The laws of motion, the pull of gravity, the math, it all says no. But what if, just this once, the universe whispered yes? Because something about 3I/ATLAS doesn't add up. The angles, the timing, the brightness, it's all wrong. And as October 29th approaches, the day it vanishes behind the sun, more and more scientists are asking the same haunting question. What if it's not passing through? What if it's making a home? It's been weeks since 3I/ATLAS made its eerie flyby of Mars, leaving behind a trail of plasma and confusion. What started as a passing interstellar visitor has now turned into something far stranger. Every instrument, every telescope, every line of data seems to point toward one impossible idea: that 3I/ATLAS is not trying to escape our solar system. It's trying to stay. After the Mars encounter, NASA's orbital tracking teams noticed something no one could explain. The comet's velocity began to shift, subtly at first, as though an invisible hand was adjusting its trajectory. Nothing chaotic, nothing random, smooth, deliberate, and calculated, the kind of change that defies natural motion. It was supposed to continue outward, slingshotting around the sun and heading back to the void between stars. But instead, it began angling inward, tracing a curve that would take it dangerously close to the sun itself. At first, scientists thought it was just solar radiation pressure or outgassing jets, but those would make the path messy, uneven, unpredictable. This was precise, too precise, as though 3I/ATLAS knew what it was doing. As it moved closer to the sun, new data came in from the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. What they saw didn't match any cometary model ever recorded. The tail wasn't extending outward the way comets normally behave. It seemed to bend around, folding in on itself, forming a spiral shape that followed the gravitational curve of the sun. It looked more like a maneuver than a meltdown. Experts from Harvard and Caltech ran simulations. The math showed that if 3I/ATLAS adjusted its speed by just a fraction, less than 1 kilometer per second, it could slow down enough to be captured by the sun's gravity. Instead of flying out forever, it would fall into a bound orbit. That means one thing: permanence. It would stay inside our solar system forever, looping endlessly, like a silent, alien moon of the sun. For a natural object, this kind of capture is nearly impossible. A hyperbolic interstellar body carries too much energy to be stopped by gravity alone. It needs an external force, an impulse, a correction. Something or someone would have to slow it down. And if that's true, then 3I/ATLAS isn't just a rock and ice visitor. It's something else entirely. The weeks leading to its perihelion were tense. On Earth, every major observatory went on full alert. The James Webb Telescope, the Hubble, the Vera Rubin Observatory, all turned their eyes toward the sun's edge, waiting to see what would happen as Atlas made its closest approach.
Confirmed interstellar object in recorded history. Its inbound velocity over 200,000 kilometers per hour confirms it's not bound to our star. Perihelion comes at 1.36 astronomical units, just inside Mars's orbit. Every calculation says it should whip past and vanish forever. Yet the trajectory's uncanny alignment, coupled with that hyperbolic speed, leaves a question hanging in the data: cosmic accident or geometric signature of intent? At closest approach, 3I Atlas will be hurtling at nearly 68 kilometers per second, more than double the velocity of the fastest probe humanity has ever launched. This moment, when the object is deepest in the sun's gravitational well and moving fastest, offers a loophole in orbital mechanics that no other location in space can provide. The Oberth effect, first described by German physicist Hermann Oberth in 1929, operates on a principle that sounds almost paradoxical. A rocket burn delivers far more bang when you're already moving at breakneck speed deep inside a gravity well. Fire your engines while crawling through empty space, and you get a modest push. Fire those same engines while screaming past the sun at 68 kilometers, and the effect multiplies dramatically. The next 60 seconds reveal why mission planners have gone silent. The rule is elegantly simple. The change in orbital energy from a propulsive burn is proportional to your speed at the moment you light the engines. Kinetic energy scales with velocity squared, meaning a 1 kilometer per second thrust at perihelion translates into an enormous shift in trajectory, like swinging a sledgehammer at full acceleration rather than tapping gently with your wrist. For 3I Atlas, the path to capture would demand a retrograde burn executed precisely at closest solar approach. The objective: shed enough velocity to transform from escape trajectory into a closed permanent orbit around the sun. The mathematics are unforgiving. To drop into a stable solar orbit at 1.36 astronomical units, the object would need to bleed off roughly 20 kilometers per second right at perihelion. That's a staggering energy requirement. Even with the most efficient propulsion systems known, the propellant mass would approach the mass of the vehicle itself. Yet the Oberth effect remains the only mechanism that makes such a maneuver remotely feasible. Natural comets experience outgassing, jets of vapor that can nudge trajectories slightly. But these forces are weak and erratic. Think of it like trying to steer a cruise ship with a handheld fan. A controlled, precisely timed retrograde burn at perihelion would stand out in the data like a gunshot in a library. The telltale signature astronomers will hunt for: a sudden drop in outbound velocity, a change far beyond what outgassing could possibly explain. From mid-October through early November 2025, 3I Atlas disappears behind the Sun from every terrestrial vantage.
Because everybody will suddenly feel like, uh-oh, we've just been invaded. I mean, because if it does a maneuver around the sun, that would show it's not a natural object, right?
Yes, it will be a technological success, but it could be also a mothership that releases mini probes that maneuver.
In 6 days, a 33 billion-ton visitor from beyond our solar system will knife past the Sun at 55 kilometers per second. The object's name is 3I Atlas, and its trajectory is doing something no random comet should do, hugging the solar system's planetary plane with unnerving precision. Which raises a question astronomers are quietly debating: is this a natural wanderer, or something engineered to break hard and take up residence in our cosmic neighborhood? Here's the complication. When 3I Atlas reaches its closest approach on October 29th, Earth's telescopes will be blind. The Sun itself blocks every line of sight. The only certainty we'll have is what emerges on the other side, and whether it's still traveling at escape velocity or has slowed into a permanent orbit.
We have also orbiters around Mars that could check for unusual activity there. It could be a black swan event, where something that looks natural at first ends up being like a Trojan horse,
Picture this. You're tossing a dart at a spinning globe, trying to hit a single city street. That's the statistical challenge 3I Atlas has apparently solved by accident. Instead of plunging toward the Sun from a steep random angle like most interstellar visitors, it's skimming along the ecliptic, the invisible disk where planets orbit, tilted just 5 degrees from flat.
Well, we are still waiting for NASA to release an image, the highest resolution image with 30 kilometers per pixel that was obtained on October 2nd by the high-res camera on board the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. We are seeing the anti-tail that was pointed towards the Sun, opposite to what we see in the context of comets, and now changing direction and going away from the Sun, the more conventional way.
What happens next challenges every assumption about random cosmic visitors. The last 2 confirmed interstellar objects, Oumuamua and Borisov, came screaming in from high inclinations, their paths cutting through the solar system at sharp angles. Atlas, by contrast, glides nearly parallel to the disk itself. This alignment fundamentally alters what's possible at perihelion. An object approaching along the ecliptic meets the Sun at a shallow angle, maximizing the window for any maneuver that exploits solar gravity as an amplifier. If you were designing a spacecraft to use the Oberth effect, this is exactly the geometry you'd choose. Discovered July 1, 2025, 3I Atlas became only the 3rd confirmed.
I don't know if there will be meaning to money if this object turns out to be technological after October 29th. If you want to take a vacation, take it before that day, because who knows what will happen.
Please take leave before October 29th. If this object is extraterrestrial technology, money may become utterly meaningless. These words come from a Harvard professor. Harvard's own Professor Harvey Loeb, ladies and gentlemen. He refers to the 3I Atlas interstellar object approaching Earth, whose size rivals or even exceeds that of Manhattan Island. For those concerned about the fate of financial systems, currency, paper money, and even the global economy should 3I Atlas prove to be extraterrestrial technology, the professor sent a clear signal. He stated he could not guarantee that money would retain its value after October 29th. Most chillingly, he added, "If you plan to take a vacation, be sure to arrange it before October 29th. Keep in mind, 3I Atlas was only discovered months ago. Initially thought to be an asteroid, It was later proposed as a potential alien probe, projected to reach Earth in November. Guess what? This possibility is not only real, it's highly probable.
Right now, at this very moment, something extraordinary is happening in our solar system. An object from deep interstellar space, designated 3I Atlas, is racing toward the sun at over 200,000 kilometers per hour. And in exactly 12 days, on October 29th, it will reach the closest point in its journey, a moment called perihelion. But here's what keeps Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb awake at night. This visitor might not leave. New calculations suggest it could use the sun's own gravity to slow down, to trap itself in our cosmic neighborhood permanently. And if that happens, Loeb warns financial markets could crash as humanity confronts a truth we've never faced before. But that's not even the worst part. Recent data reveals something far more unsettling about what this object actually is, and what it might do when we can't see it behind the sun. So the question becomes, are we witnessing a natural comet or something deliberately designed? Let me explain what's happening here, because the mathematics tell a story that's becoming harder and harder to dismiss. When astronomers first calculated the trajectory of 3I Atlas, they noticed something statistically improbable.
You've been following 3I Atlas. You know it's the third interstellar visitor. You know it's massive, fast and weird. But what you might not know is what's about to happen on October 29th. In just over 4 weeks, Atlas disappears behind the sun, hidden from every telescope on Earth. And according to Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, that's not a coincidence. That's an opportunity. The opportunity to use the sun's gravity to swing itself into permanent orbit, to trap itself in our solar system forever. Now, here's where it gets wild. In the last 48 hours, new data dropped. The mass? At least 33 billion tons. Way bigger than anyone thought. The chemistry? Breaking every rule we know. And that green glow everyone's been talking about? It happened at the exact moment it should have been impossible. We just analysed Loeb's full interview, the one where he lays out every single anomaly, every statistical impossibility, every reason why this might not be what they're telling us it is, and we're going to break down exactly what he's claiming, what the data actually shows, and what happens when Atlas goes dark in 29 days. Because whether you think this is just a weird comet or something far more intentional, one thing is undeniable. October 29th is the moment everything could change, the maneuver window, the point of no return. And we're going to walk through exactly why Loeb thinks you should take your vacation before that date. Let's get into it. But first, if you enjoy deep dives like this, hit that like button and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from, what time it is there, and the weirdest thing that ever happened to you. Chapter 1. October 29th changes everything. So let's start with what Avi Loeb actually said in this interview, because the way he opens his argument tells you everything about how he thinks. He doesn't start with speculation. He doesn't lead with the alien hypothesis. He starts with a number, 20 kilometers. That's how big he initially calculated Atlas to be based on its brightness when it was first discovered. 20 kilometers in diameter. For context, that's bigger than Manhattan Island. That's twice the size of the asteroid that slammed into Earth 66 million years ago and ended the dinosaurs. That's massive for something that supposedly got ejected from another star system and has been drifting through the galaxy ever since. And here's where Loeb's mind immediately goes to the statistics. He says, look, we know roughly how much rocky material exists in interstellar space. We can estimate it based on what we see in star-forming regions, based on planet formation models, based on the amount of heavy elements floating around out there. And when you do the math, when you calculate how often a rock this big should randomly cross paths with our inner solar system, you get a number. Once every 10,000 years. Once every 10,000 years. And we've been systematically searching for interstellar objects for what, a decade? Maybe a little more if you count the years before we had the technology to really identify them. 1 decade of looking and we find something that should only show up once every 10 millennia. Those odds are, to put it mildly, strange. But Loeb goes further.
He points out that we'd already found 2 interstellar objects before Atlas, Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. Both of them were small.
NASA has confirmed something that should be impossible. 3I/ATLAS, the mysterious interstellar visitor that's been defying physics since we discovered it, is not leaving. It's staying in our solar system permanently. This wasn't supposed to happen. Interstellar objects follow hyperbolic trajectories. They swing past the sun and slingshot back out into deep space. That's what Oumuamua did. That's what every comet and asteroid from beyond our solar system should do. But Atlas has done something no natural object should be capable of. It's bled off enough velocity to become gravitationally bound to our sun. The energy requirements to accomplish this are staggering. We're talking about slowing down from 130,000 miles per hour to orbital velocity, a deceleration that would require either years of continuous rocket thrust or gravitational maneuvers, so precise they border on impossible. The thing nobody tells you is that objects don't just decide to stay. They don't break themselves into permanent orbits unless something is actively controlling them. And NASA's announcement, buried in technical language and careful phrasing, essentially confirms what many scientists have been afraid to say out loud. We're not dealing with a comet anymore. We're dealing with something that just parked itself in our cosmic neighborhood, and it's not leaving. If you want to stay updated on what happens next with Atlas, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story is far from over. The announcement came during what was supposed to be a routine orbital mechanics briefing. A lead NASA astrophysicist stood before a room of reporters and delivered news that fundamentally changes humanity's relationship with the cosmos. Based on 3 months of continuous tracking data, we can now confirm that 3I Atlas has achieved stable orbital insertion around our Sun. The object's current trajectory indicates a highly elliptical orbit with a period of approximately 127 years, placing it permanently within our solar system. The room went silent. Then the question started, how is this possible? What mechanism could cause an interstellar object to slow down enough to be captured? Has anything like this ever been observed before? The NASA representative's answers were carefully measured. We're still analyzing the data to understand the exact mechanisms involved. There are several theoretical possibilities we're exploring. This represents an unprecedented opportunity for long-term study of an
So you get the idea of why they are afraid. I mean, this scientist, this Avi Loeb is telling everybody to take your vacations and do it now before the 29th because they are petrified that after that time, you're not going to be able to do anything. Everybody will be frozen in place and afraid to even go outside. I guess it'll be lockdown 2.0. But yeah, like I said, you can sense the fear in them. You can sense it. It rings through on these videos big time. So, this is what I have to say. My brothers and sisters, stay prayed up because our time for judgment has come to an end. It is now the time that the Gentiles face their judgment, and that's why they are all into this rapture thing. You wonder, okay, you've been given wrong dates multiple times. How can you still believe in this rapture? They have to believe in it, y'all, because in their minds, they must escape this judgment coming. They can't go through it. This is how their mindset is thinking. No, no, we got to be able to escape. That's why when you see this rapture date come and go. That's why so many of them are on video crying. We didn't get raptured. I didn't get raptured. I'm still here. Because it is that important to them. The rapture is that important to them, y'all. That's why they bounce from date to date, and the same people keep hanging on because they desperately want to believe it's true. They feel like they have no other choice but to try to get out of here. But we know they're not going anywhere. We didn't get to escape a judgment. They're not going to escape it either. Plain and simple. But it's funny that they even believe they got a glimmer of a chance of getting out of here. That's what's funny to me. It just seems like, so you would rather escape than atone and try to do the right thing to the people you cause harm to. That sounds devilish to me. How is it not devilish? How is it not, evil that you seek running over atonement? That says it all right there about who and what these people are for real. It says it all. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I do have one more live stream that's coming up, and this one is the ice raid on Canal Street in New York City. Canal Street is around where Chinatown is located. They got heavily raided, and I got the footage of it. So I hope to see you back for my next live, which will be coming up about 6:15, I believe. So, y'all, I will see you then. Shalom, family.